Okay, we're going to take a look at how to generate OpenAPI docs in this specific project itself. We tried running the tests. The test showed up with essentially empty AppMap files. If you'd like me to do that, I can go through and do that again. But as we can see, we've installed AppMap. Here's our appmap.yaml. And for kicks and giggles, we're going to go ahead and we're going to add in this path handlers right there. Save that. This is just our appmap.yaml. It's our settings essentially, or our definitions of what's going to be included. So when we initially ran this, we looked at the test. So I went in and took a dig through the tests, and the tests are actually responding directly out of the tests themselves. They're not actually touching any handlers or any route handlers. We can see our routes here, and they basically just return a couple things. This route handler is the one we're going to go for, this receive a post. We'll also map this one as well, just to be safe. But we're actually going to do it by doing a different form of recording rather than just running our test. This is going to show us how we can actually get it to have an interaction with HTTPS. So this is the data we're going to look at, and I'll go through and show you how we do that. We're going to use, for me, I like to use ThunderClient. It's the exact same thing. It's just an HTTP request client, the same as Postman or Insomniac, whatever the case may be. And I went ahead and I went and created ahead of time these different requests, these two different requests. So the first one is the request body, and we can take a look at the difference between the way the request bodies work. Partially, this is pure JSON, so we have to use double quotes here, and that's different to their single quotes. So you can't just copy paste, you actually have to go in and clean up the data a little bit. And as we come back here, we can also see, so this is our body, this is our request body, it has our request ID and the payload the same as everybody else, same as the tests. And here where we have their authorization, I went in and I actually put in a header with the exact same information, just identical to what they have there. So what I ended up doing to get this to run, and I know I'm sitting inside of a IDE or a client, if you will. But what I did is I went ahead and actually just ran the app, and we can see that the app is running because I can look there. And you'll notice the second I hit that refresh button, we got some things, right? So we got our first couple maps. We're going to go a little bit further and we're going to hit this test client, and we're going to use, I'm back in my Thunder client, and we're going to use this post request, and we're going to send that post request. And you'll notice it came back with a status code of 200. If I want to, I can turn off this header and I can send it again and I'll get an unauthorized. And we can actually see that inside of our maps. So now let's go back and take a look at our maps. Sorry. Go back and take a look at our app maps. We can see this is our first one. And notice it doesn't say test up here, it says record requests. Here's our first request recording, where we can look at essentially just our HTTP request. And we can see this route, and we can see the events that happened, and we can see all that information. We can see the post request. It'll take it just a second, but if we look at this post request, we can actually see the data we sent it, right? And the coolest part about this is once we have these maps, we can come over here to generate OpenAPI. And this generate OpenAPI definitions is just a pretty CLI wrapper or pretty UI wrapper around the OpenAPI command. So if we click it and we give it a couple seconds, we can actually see our OpenAPI definitions right there. So all I did was run it, hit it with a couple requests with an external HTTP client, gave it the authorization and authentication that it needed, and then sent those to get us our actual recorded maps. So to stop the recording, I'm going to come back in here, and I'm actually just going to open up my terminal and hit Control-C. Closes that out, and you can see that it's gone, not working, but there's our app maps and how we get OpenAPI definitions.